So this lesson about if statements deals with problems where there are three possible outcomes that we want to deal with rather than just two. And the way we do that is if, elif, and else. Now I'm going to say elsif instead of elif. That's what I'm used to, and elif is really just short for elsif anyway. So let's get started. In the first example, let's say that we are going to compare two ages. There are three options. Either you are older than me, or I'm older than you, or we're the same age. So let's start by making a variable and calling it my age. So my age equals, now I'm going to make up a totally random number here. I'm going to say 33. And then we'll need to ask the user what their age is. Okay, now let's think about the logic of this. And there are multiple ways we can write the logic for this using these if statements. First case could be that I am older than you. So we could say that if my age is greater than your age, then we're going to do something. We're going to print I am set s older than you, and then I'm going to do the calculation. I'm going to say my age minus your age. So what's going to happen here is it's going to say I am a certain number older than you, and that number is going to be my age minus your age, which is the difference between our ages. Okay, the second condition that could be true is that you are older than me. So rather than saying if again, what we're going to say is elif, or which is short for else if. So a different if that falls under the same thread of if statements. So a different if, or a different thing that could be true, is your age is greater than my age. And what do we want to say? We're going to say you are, I'm just going to say you are older than me. The other condition that could happen is that we are the same age. Now we've already covered the fact that I could be older than you, and we've covered the fact that you could be older than me. So the only thing that could be left is that we're the same age. So we'll just say else. We're going to say we're the same age. Now let's go ahead and run this. So what is your age? Let's start with the exact same age. So we are the same age. That works good. Run it again. We're going to test out when I am older than you. So let's say you are 12 years old. Well, 33 minus 12 is 21. So I am 21 older than you. I can see that there's a little mistake there. We'll ignore that for now. And one more. What is your age? You're older than me, so let's say you entered 45, so you are older than me. I just want to point out that it's really good to test out your programs. Try to come up with a situation where your logic in your program doesn't work. You really want to test all the different kinds of cases. So in this next example, I'm actually going to write something that doesn't work the right way. And hopefully you'll be able to catch on why before we explain it at the end. Now let's say we're just going to get a number from the user, and we're going to tell the user if the number is more than 10, or if it's between 1 and 10, or if it's less than 1. And I'm going to do this with if, else if, and else again. So first we need to get a number from the user. So we're going to get a number from the user, and we're going to see, is the number between 1 and 10, or in other words, like is the number bigger than 1, is the number bigger than 10, or is the number 1 or less? So let's test the first one. If number is bigger than 1, then we're going to say the number is bigger than 1. Okay, the next thing that it could be could be bigger than 10, right? So if number is bigger than 10, then we're going to print the number is bigger than 10. Now the only other condition would be that the number is less than 1, right? We've already covered all of the other numbers. So else, we're going to print the number is 1 or less. All right, let's test it. So it says enter a number. I'm going to enter the number 5 to begin with. The number is bigger than 1 and the number is 1 or less. Well, that's not right. Let's go back and look at our code and see if we can see what's going on. So if we look at our code, we've printed this line right here, and we've also printed this line right here. Well, why is that? We entered the number 5. So the first thing our program did was it got a number from the user. It's an integer number, so we were prompted to enter that. And then it says, if the number is bigger than 1, then print this to the screen. Well, 5 is bigger than 1, so it printed this to the screen. But why did it also print this else statement? Oh, it's because it says if the number is bigger than 10. Well, 5 is not bigger than 10. We started a whole brand new if statement right here. What we actually need is elif, which is else if. So we're staying within the same block of if statements rather than starting a brand new if statement. See, what happened before was, just for clarification, I'll put some spaces here. It checked this, and that was true, so it did it. And then it came down here, and now it's starting a brand new set of if statements right here. So if we change this to else if, and we run it again, and we'll enter the number 5, it just says the number is bigger than 1, which is exactly what we wanted. Let's run it again and test another case. What if we entered a -1? We should expect it to say the number is 1 or less, and when we enter it, it says the number is 1 or less. We got to run it one more time to test what if we enter a number bigger than 10. So I'll run it, and we'll enter a 12, and it says the number is bigger than 1, not bigger than 10. Well, that's strange. Let's go back and look at our code for a moment. So it says if the number is bigger than 1, we're going to print the number is bigger than 1. Well, we entered a 12, so that's why it printed this. Now, as soon as one of these conditions within this set of if statements becomes true, it does the code right underneath it, and then it doesn't look at the rest. It skips right down to the end without checking the rest. Now, this is very easy to fix in this program. What we need to do first is we need to check and see if the number is bigger than 10 first. So let's put that here, and that means we have to change this and we have to change this. Okay, so if the number that we enter is bigger than 10, then the number is bigger than 10. Okay, if the number is bigger than 1, then we're going to print the number is bigger than 1. But if the number that we entered, which is going to be a 12 in a moment, if that number is bigger than 10, then we're going to print this, and we're going to print this line. We're going to skip over all the rest of this, and it's not even going to look at it. This actually covers even the number 12 or 100, but the 12 and 100 and all of those bigger numbers bigger than 10, are already taken care of here. This will never happen if we enter a number bigger than 10. It will only happen with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. And under every other circumstance, for example 1 and lower, it will do this else. And we're going to run it one more time to make sure that it works. So enter a number. First thing I'm going to try is a -1. Okay, that still works fine. Enter a number. I'm going to enter a 5 again. That number is bigger than 1. That works good. One last time, enter a 12. The number is bigger than 10. Alright, our program works the way it's supposed to. So just be really careful about your logic in your if statements, because it's really easy to get either things out of order, to forget this EL so that you're using else if rather than another if statement, those kinds of things. Now the very last thing I want to show you in this lesson is that you can have an if statement inside another if statement. And these are called nested if statements. One is nested inside the other one. And let's think of an example. Let's say that when you turn 19, you're able to vote. So let's ask the user, what's your age? And if they're 19, then we can ask them, well, have you voted yet? And if they're not 19, we don't want to ask, have you voted yet? So let's write that program. So first we need to get the age from the user. Next, what we need to do is we need to check and see if their age is greater than or equal to 19. So if their age is greater than or equal to 19, then we need to do something. then we need to first ask them, have they voted? So we need to get some information from them now. So voted equals input, have you voted? And then we'll put y/n to prompt them. I just want to know in terms of like a y or an n, enter a y or an n, that's all I want to know. So if the voted is y, and because the y that they're entering is going to be a string, I have this y in quotation marks. If you don't have quotation marks here, the program's going to be checking to see if the value of voted is equal to the value of the variable called y. And there is no variable called y here. So we need to see if voted is equal to y, like the actual y character. And if y, then it means that they have voted. Then we could say, great job, because they voted. And then we could put, what if they said no? So else if voted is an n, then we could print, better do it soon. And the only other thing that they could enter is something that's not a y or an n, right? So we could just say, under every other condition, and this is called foolproofing. This isn't really foolproofing it yet, but what if someone, instead of entering a y or an n, they entered an l? Well, what are we going to do with that? So under every other condition, anything else that they entered, we're going to print, I don't understand that answer. This isn't really foolproofing. I'm just introducing it to you right now. Okay, so if they enter an age that's bigger than 19, then we're going to ask them, well, have you voted? If they enter a yes, then we're going to print great job. If they enter an N for no, then we're going to print, well, you better do it soon. And if they enter something else, then we're going to print, I don't understand that answer. Okay, so what if their age isn't bigger than or equal to 19? Then we'll just put, if they entered some other age, then we're going to say, you have a certain number of years left to vote. So we'll do a little bit of math. Now I'll show you a different way that we can, instead of the %s, I'll show you a different way to put that in here. We will use these braces, and I'm going to put the number 0 here. 0 just means do the first one. So instead of %s, I'm going to use those squiggly braces with a 0 in between. You have, I'm going to do that calculation afterwards. You have this many years until you can vote. And then we're going to put dot format. Then we're going to put a bracket, and we're going to put 19 minus their age. That will be how many years until they turn 19. Now this 0, if we had multiple things to put in this sentence, like a bunch of different %s's, then you would put a 0 for the first one, a 1 for the second one, a 2 for the third, and then when you look over here at the dot format, your list of variables right here, it would be 0 is always the first one, and then 1 is the second one, etc. I know those numbers seem kind of strange. It'll make a little more sense once we get into arrays. Let's run it, test it out. So what is your age? First, let's say that I'm 19 or older, so I'll pick 19. And then have you voted? I'll enter a Y for yes. Great job. Test it again. So what is your age? I'll say 20. Have you voted? And better do it soon. Let's do it again. What is your age? I'm 35. Have you voted? I'll enter an S. I don't understand that answer. We have one other case, and that's when we are not yet 19. So let's run it. What is your age? I am 5. It says you have 14 years until you can vote. All right, so there you have the else if statement. You have nested if statements, which are if statements inside if statements. And you also have the consideration of your logic of how you've built your if statements.